Global supply chains are exporting disaster, a truth nobody wants to admit. This isn't a bug, it's a predictable 5-stage collapse pattern unfolding right now. You're about to see the liability economics and insurance analysis behind the inevitable bankruptcies. This pattern has dismantled empires and crippled economies for centuries. Today, it's targeting your everyday goods, your savings, and your future. Let me show you exactly how this disaster is exported. We're not talking about minor disruptions, we're talking about systemic failure. The regulatory cost analysis reveals a hidden mechanism designed for collapse. Understanding this pattern is your first defense against the coming crisis. The first stage is fragile foundations. Think of it as building on sand. Companies prioritize just-in-time delivery over resilience, creating vulnerabilities no one acknowledges. This stage is characterized by razor-thin margins and an over-reliance on single suppliers. It seems efficient, but it's a ticking time bomb waiting for a single shock to detonate. You see this in the historical data. Companies that ignored foundational strength always faltered. They prioritized short-term gains over long-term stability, a fatal flaw. Stage 2 is escalating dependencies. Here, the system becomes incredibly complex, with interconnected parts that rely on each other implicitly. One failure cascades rapidly. Each dependency adds a layer of risk, making the entire network brittle. The insurance industry starts noticing, but the premiums don't reflect the true danger yet. This is where the numbers start to look concerning. A 10% increase in dependency can lead to a 50% increase in failure probability. You're paying for convenience, not security. Stage 3 is the trigger event. This could be anything: a natural disaster, a geopolitical conflict, or even a minor operational hiccup. It's the spark that ignites the fuse. Suddenly, the fragile foundations and escalating dependencies are exposed. The system, designed for perfection, buckles under the slightest imperfection. This is where the real pain begins. History shows us this trigger event is inevitable. Whether it's a pandemic or a trade war, something always disrupts the delicate balance. You cannot avoid the trigger. Stage 4 is cascading failure. This is the heart of the collapse. Once triggered, the interconnectedness means everything starts to break down simultaneously. Production halts, shipping routes are cut off, and demand outstrips supply exponentially. Prices skyrocket and panic sets in. This is the visible disaster. The liability economics kick in here. Who is responsible? The manufacturer, the shipper, the regulator. Everyone points fingers, but no one takes ownership. Evidence block 1. The 2008 financial crisis showed how interconnected systems fail. Banks relied on complex derivatives, and when one failed, the whole structure crumbled. Source: Wikipedia. 2008 financial crisis. This stage is brutal for consumers. You experience shortages, inflation, and uncertainty. Your purchasing power erodes as the system exports its failure directly to you. Stage 5, the final stage, is systemic reconfiguration or collapse. The old system is broken. It either reconfigures into something more resilient or ceases to function. This reconfiguration is painful. It involves massive write-offs, bankruptcies, and a complete overhaul of how goods are produced and distributed. It's a forced reset. The corporate bankruptcy cases from this stage are legendary. Companies that were once giants disappear overnight, leaving behind a trail of debt and broken promises. This is where regulatory cost analysis becomes critical. Governments must step in, but often their solutions are too little, too late, or create new dependencies. Evidence block 2. The concept of black swan events, popularized by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, highlights unpredictable triggers that cause massive systemic damage. Source: Wikipedia. Black swan theory. The insurance industry faces immense pressure. They are expected to cover losses, but the scale of these events often exceeds their capacity, leading to their own instability. This pattern isn't new. Think of the Roman Empire's reliance on vast, complex trade routes. When those routes were disrupted, the empire's infrastructure couldn't cope. Or consider the Industrial Revolution's early factories. Initial efficiency gains masked underlying vulnerabilities in resource supply and labor dependency. Each time, the pattern repeats. Fragile foundations, escalating dependencies, a trigger, cascading failure, and then a painful reset. You're seeing it happen again. The infrastructure investment ROI becomes a mirage during collapse. Projects built on flawed assumptions become liabilities, not assets, draining resources. What makes this dangerous today is the sheer scale and speed of globalization. Everything is interconnected, making the potential for cascading failure immense. Right now, the same pattern is playing out in real time across the globe. We are more dependent than ever, and the trigger events are becoming more frequent. You might think your local market is immune, but the global web connects us all. A disruption on one continent impacts your shelves within weeks. The critical question is, how do we break this cycle? The answer lies in understanding the pattern and building resilience, not just efficiency. We need to shift from just in time to just in case. This means diversifying suppliers, investing in robust infrastructure, and demanding transparency. Evidence block 3. Modern supply chain resilience strategies focus on diversification and visibility. Companies like, mention a type of company, the large tech firms are investing heavily. Source, World Trade Organization, trade facilitation. This isn't about stopping globalization. It's about making it sustainable. It requires a fundamental shift in corporate and regulatory thinking. You have the power to demand more. Ask questions about where your products come from and how they are made. Support companies that prioritize resilience. The future of our economy depends on recognizing this 5-stage pattern and actively working to build systems that can withstand shocks, not just optimize for efficiency. So what should you take from this? First, understand that efficiency without resilience is a ticking time bomb. Second, recognize the escalating dependencies in your own life and the economy. Third, demand transparency and support companies that are building robust, diversified supply chains. Knowledge is your protection against this exported disaster. The pattern of collapse is not destiny, it's a choice. We can choose to build differently, to prioritize stability over fragility. If this analysis has opened your eyes to the hidden dangers in our global economy, subscribe because our next video will reveal how specific industries are already preparing for the inevitable. Will your investments survive the next collapse? Understand the pattern, protect your future. This is the 5-stage pattern of collapse. It has happened before, and it is happening again. The question is, will you be ready? The system is exporting disaster, but you don't have to be a victim of it. Understanding the pattern is the first step towards resilience. This isn't just about economics. It's about the stability of our modern world. The pattern is clear, and the consequences are dire if ignored. The disaster is being exported, but the solution starts with awareness. You now know the stages, the triggers, and the path forward. Financial analysis of catastrophic events has shown you the truth. The pattern is undeniable, and the time to act is now. The 5-stage collapse pattern is a warning. Heed it, and you can navigate the coming challenges. Ignore it, and you risk everything.